Is there any other genre as perfectly suited to messing with the audience's heads than sci-fi? Only science fiction could hold host to the imaginings of Philip K. Dick and William Gibson. Maybe it's the fantastical possibility inherent in time travel, space exploration, and faraway alien planets. Maybe it's just the increased suspension of disbelief which the genre allows. Whatever the cause, sci-fi has been home to plenty of mind-warping narratives over the decades. Some genius and some unwatchably pretentious. Good, bad, or stuck somewhere in between, this lot messed with the viewer's head, but did so for good reason. I'm Gareth from WhatCulture.com, and here are 12 sci-fi movies that purposefully mess with your head.
But before we begin, I'm very excited to tell you guys about today's list sponsor, Desperados 3. For those of you who don't know, Desperados is a real-time tactics series with a heavy emphasis on story. This installment has been eagerly anticipated for well over a decade now and acts as a prequel to the much-beloved Desperados, Wanted Dead or Alive. Set across the Wild West, Desperados 3 stars 5 unique playable characters, each with their own abilities and skills to help you survive across this hardcore stealth experience. There are tons of mission types to get stuck into as well, with the emphasis being on player freedom. Whether you want to ghost through levels or go in completely aggressive, it's entirely up to you. This is all on top of slick presentation, likable characters, and a diverse Wild West setting that draws you into this story. The game has been getting some absolutely stellar reviews over the past few days as well, so don't just take my word for it. Desperados 3 is available right now on PC, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and there's even a free demo if you want to try it out for yourself before buying over on the Steam page, so check those links down in the description below and give it a shot for yourself. So check those out, cheers for watching, and now let's get back to that list.
Number 12. Primer. Shane Carruth's debut is infamous for its twisty, almost impossible to unravel timeline, and the flick went on to inspire everything from British Bermuda Triangle set chiller Triangle to Spanish thriller Time Crimes, an equally impressive micro-budget effort from a fellow emerging genre auteur. The film follows a pair of scientists as they attempt to understand and experiment with perfecting their accidental discovery of a time travel method, and it leaves the process frustratingly near impossible to decipher for mainstream audiences, thanks in large part to Carruth's own real-life background in advanced mathematics and engineering. By the time the film reaches its enigmatic close, the audience is left certain that they can make sense of the storyline, and its many versions of the protagonists who exist across various timelines within a stable time loop. We'll just need a pen, some paper, and a few years to work it all out. Number 11, 2001, A Space Odyssey. The granddaddy of psychedelic sci-fi, Kubrick's classic almost defies genre categorization by the time it reaches its trippy conclusion. Sure, the spaceship-set thriller element of the story is very much rooted in hard sci-fi traditions, and the out-of-control onboard computer HAL can be seen as another cautionary tale of unchecked artificial intelligence outgrowing its intended use. But once the flick reaches Jupiter, our preconceived ideas of where all this is going go out the window in favor of increasingly trippy visuals, and a trip into psychedelic time and space warping interdimensional travel. Believe it or not, everything from the significance of the monolith in the film's opening to the enigmatic image of the Star Child is explained in the novel Kubrick was adapting, and canny viewers can actually decipher the existential journey depicted in the film. Number 10, Cube. Released in 1997, the horror thriller sci-fi hybrid Cube served as a stylish, unsettling calling card for director Vincenzo Natali, who would go on to helm everything from 2009's underrated medical experimentation cautionary tale Splice to 2019's Joe Hill adaptation In the Tall Grass. In a premise that would leave the likes of Franz Kafka seething with jealousy at its ingenious simplicity, the film sees a set of mismatched characters awaken inside of a small cube-shaped room, with the group gradually progressing between shifting rooms of identical dimensions, whilst losing members to both the traps hidden in said rooms and mounting paranoia amongst its members. We never learn how they ended up there, why this certain set of characters were chosen for this unfortunate fate, or what this is all in aid of. The film's much maligned sequels began filling in some of the blanks, but in the process missed the purpose of Natalie's movie. The film is about how the social contract held between people falls apart under duress, rather than the specifics of this group's brutal plight. Number 9. EXISTENZ. Released only shortly after the Wachowski sisters' era-defining The Matrix, EXISTENZ is a similarly trippy dip into the mind of Canadian sci-fi horror auteur David Cronenberg. The flick was a departure from the Helmer's usual formula of combining a simple story with mind-blowingly gruesome effects, as seen in everything from The Brood, Scanners, and The Fly. Starring Jude Law and Jennifer Jason Leigh, the plot follows Leigh's video game designer as she tests out her most recent immersive virtual reality experience whilst being pursued by assassins. Or is she? However, the film never makes it clear whether the action we're watching is part of the titular game or reality, and also never clarifies which characters know they're in a game, if indeed they are, leaving us in a slippy narrative territory where no one can be trusted and it's impossible to gauge the risk faced by the cast, like any good video game. Number 8. Stay. A rare flop from journeyman director Mark Foster, who has helmed everything from World War Z to Monsters Ball, Stay left critics howling upon its 2005 release. The film was derided as too self-serious and suffering from a burdensome, overcomplicated plot. But the complex narrative can actually be unraveled with ease once the viewer is aware of the pivotal twist revealed at its close. You see, the characters played by Ewan McGregor and Naomi Watts are actually only projections imagined by the real protagonist, Ryan Gosling's Henry. Suffering survivor's guilt after a car crash, Henry recontextualizes the moments before his death to create a story for the last moments of his life. With this twist in mind, the film's myriad turns and hard-to-follow plotting make much more sense. And whilst the film is still no Jacob's Ladder, its story is made more original and provocative when viewed through the lens of its climactic reveal. Number 7. The Butterfly Effect. Hated upon its release in 2003 for tackling heavy, disturbing themes with a less than subtle stylistic palette, more reminiscent of MTV than art cinema, The Butterfly Effect has since gone on to be reconsidered by critics in the decade since. The film follows troubled student Evan as he attempts to undo the many tragedies and traumas which plagued his childhood and ruined the lives of his friends, as well as leaving Evan himself burdened with frequent blackouts. It does sound like pretty heavy material for a That 70s Show era Ashton Kutcher, doesn't it? However, following the logic of the eponymous theory, each attempt only leaves Evans' friends in worse stead than before. The film illustrates the untraceable effect we have on one another's lives in both its theatrical and alternate endings, both of which see Evan remove himself from the lives of his friends entirely, thus saving them from their hopeless fates. Number 6. Cloud Atlas. The Wachowski sisters were once critical darlings for their contribution to mind-bending genre cinema, with 1999's The Matrix being hailed as a landmark for the sci-fi genre on the cusp of the new millennium. However, as more installments in the franchise were released and the backstory of the series became increasingly labyrinthine, the sequels soon fell out of favor with critics even as they continued to impress at the box office. Cue 2009's genre-defying epic Cloud Atlas, an adaptation of the singularly strange novel of the same name by British author David Mitchell, whose 6 storylines run from the 19th century through to the distant future of the 24th. The same actors play different characters, or possibly the same souls in different bodies, in an ambitious, sprawling epic which hopes to move between timelines in order to illustrate some essential truths about humanity and our connection to each other. The film eventually flopped at the box office and failed to connect with audiences, though critics have since said the massive multi-story movie has some merits. Number 5. Donnie Darko. No list of sci-fi mind screws would be complete without a visit from everyone's favorite moody teen, and his creepy rabbit best mate, Frank. Anchored by a career-igniting performance from Jake Gyllenhaal, Richard Kelly's Donnie Darko tells the story of a small-town teen plagued by cryptic visions of an impending apocalypse, and attempting to decipher the clues whilst also getting into standard-issue, misunderstood teen tries to navigate suburban existence scrapes. The story may be hard to parse first time round, but unlike Kelly's later flops, there's method to Donnie's madness. Eagle-eyed viewers, or those who have watched the film obsessively like myself, will be able to understand that the film actually tells, in glimpses, the story of Donnie's eventual self-sacrifice, with his pivotal role in the events surrounding him foreshadowing his ability to save the world. Or you can just keep enjoying it as an impeccably soundtracked mind masher. Your call. Number 4, Under the Skin. Directed by Berth Helmer Jonathan Glazer, a mercurial talent who rarely puts together projects and never explains them after, Under the Skin sees Scarlett Johansson cast against type, like way against type, as an unnamed alien roaming the Scottish Highlands in search of human males to mate with and eventually consume via a strange ritual. Though critics remain divided on what it all means, man, many have noted that the character's projections of their fantasies onto Johansson, as well as her own blank slate countenance, make the film an interesting allegory for the gender roles we choose for ourselves, as well as the ones foisted upon us by society. Number 3, Beyond the Black Rainbow. Director Panos Cosmatos delighted audiences in 2018 with his psychedelic horror thriller Mandy, which benefited from a paper-thin plot that allowed Nick Cage to go full Nick Cage. Before Mandy hit our screens, however, Cosmatos had already impressed genre buffs with his first film, the ambitious Beyond the Black Rainbow, a dark sci-fi indebted to the nihilistic genre fare of the 70s, such as George Lucas's debut, THX 1138. Beyond the Black Rainbow tells the strange story of a woman with psychic abilities, being held captive by a strange scientist in a New Age retreat. Many found the film impossible to read, but a glance into the politics of the director reveals that the Institute's machinations can be read as society's attempts to control and regulate its citizens, with Reagan's America taking the brunt of the film's satirical ire. Number 2, Coherence. Director James Ward Birkitt must have been influenced by Vincenzo Natali's Cube for his trippy debut feature. Coherence seems to tell the story of a young woman who is plagued by bizarre encounters the night of a comet's passing over Earth. But rewatching the flick will illuminate a whole new layer of meaning for viewers willing to delve deeper into the mind-bending thriller. What's actually going on is, our protagonist M is, along with her assembled friends, able to travel between alternate versions of their universe due to a split in the space-time continuum, which has rendered it possible to travel between their versions of reality. This leads to double crosses, escape gambits, and eventually even murder, as each character attempts to leave one reality for another, with our nominal hero reduced to trying to destroy one of her doubles in order to assume her place, and failing. Number 1, Moon. Who knew a film from the son of the legendary David Bowie would be weird, right? In this thoughtful slice of sci-fi from future Warcraft helmer Duncan Jones, Sam Rockwell plays Sam Bell, a lone space station employee left out on the moon, mining nuclear material alone for years at a time. Only that's not quite the case, as we discover once he nears retirement. Sam is one of many clones of himself, a warehouse full of whom inhabit the lunar outpost ready to be deployed once each serves their 3 years, and begins to break down. This realization comes midway through the film and throws the opening half into sharp relief, with the reality that our protagonist has never been himself occurring to us, the audience, at the same time it becomes clear to him. But only upon a rewatch will viewers be able to understand the film's treatment of themes as diverse as identity, conformity, and the work-life balance under late capitalism. And that's our list. Know of any other sci-fi movies that purposely mess with your head? Let us know all about them in the comments section right down there. And do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button and ring the bell while you're there. Also, why not head on over to whatculture.com and click on some more awesome articles just like this one. I've been Gareth from whatculture.com. Thank you very much for watching today, and I'm sure I'll see you very soon.